The first were equations. So a rational equation, rational means it has a fraction in it. With the equation, our strategy was to just get rid of the fraction. You guys didn't like working with them if you didn't have to, and when we had an equation, we were able to just multiply to eliminate that. You do have to watch, if you have a fraction, what can't happen? Okay. So we did have to make sure that our answer was acceptable on this, and that the bottom didn't equal 0. So checking was very important. So we're going to walk through one, the first one I have kind of as a fill in the blank for us. So let's take a look at this. First of all,
Am I allowed to bring your echo?
you need a new script, you have to finish. Right, you're stuck on that question.
Well, like, I skipped around, but I didn't start.
If you started, you have to finish. Okay, if we look at this, what can x not be? Okay, so I'm just going to make a note to myself. If you don't write this down here, then you can get it later, as long as you make sure you check your answer. But I just like to make a note so then I don't forget about it later on. So then if I am trying to get rid of my fraction, what would I have to multiply the first one by?
2.
Okay, and if you take one of them times 2, you have to multiply everything by 2. Okay, so that cancels this denominator. What would we have to multiply by for the next one?
X minus 1.
And so you have to take all of them times an x minus 1. So I am left with the 2x minus 3 times the x minus 1. Second term, I have a 2x times a 2. The last one I had x times, if I went ahead and multiplied those, that would give me a 2x minus 2. Alright, what do I do from here? Multiply it all out. So if we FOIL these, we get 2x squared minus 2x and minus 3x makes a minus 5x plus 3. 2x times 2 is a 4x. Over here, distribute the x, you get 2x squared minus 2x. Alright. Then what?
Don't we add the 4?
Yeah, let's find our like terms. So we have 2x squared, negative 5x and positive 4x is negative x plus 3 equals 2x squared minus 2x. Then we can subtract our 2x squared over. And those actually cancel. If I add over this x, I have 3 equals negative x divided by negative 1, and x is negative 3. Is that an okay answer?
Yes.
Yeah, the only thing we couldn't have was 1, so negative 3 is okay. Let's look at this next one. what do I do first?
Get rid of the fractions.
What would help me get rid of those fractions?
You can do box method.
Yes.
You like that?
As to which one I heard, take out an x and.
The box method. X plus 2, we can't do anything with that. X plus 7, I can't do anything with that. But this one we can do box method. So x squared breaks into x. What multiplies to 14 and adds to 9?
7 and 2. 8.
Alright. How does that help me?
Cancel them out.
Yeah, we don't have to multiply by as much stuff. You want to keep your problem as simple as possible. So if you factor first, then you don't end up with something more complicated later on. What can x not equal here?
-2 and -7.
Yes.
Good job, boy.
You have to set each thing on the bottom equal to 0. So then I have to multiply by both of those. Alright, so in the first one, we see the x plus 2 drops out. Second one, the x plus 7 drops out. The third one, everything's gone. So we have 1 times the x plus 7, 3 times the x plus 2, and just a 5. So if we distribute, we get x plus 7 plus 3x plus 6 equals 5. Add like terms. Subtract your 13 and divide by 4, and you get x equals -2.
That's not right because it cannot equal -2.
Okay. We said at the beginning that x can't be -2. That's the only answer we got. So what do I say?
No solution. No bueno.
No solution.
Yep. Not good.
Alright. You guys take a second and set up the next one. See how far you get with it.
Oh, we got that.
Squared. What can x not equal on this one?
Yeah, that was nice.
Okay, so if we multiply by x squared, you have to take it times everything. So 1 times x squared is x squared. 3 over x times x squared.
And then you put the
That's 3x. Minus 10 equals 0.
oh my.
Then we can do box method. What multiplies to -10 and adds to -3?
5, -5 and 2.
So if you set those equal to 0, you get
5 and
+5 and -2. Are both of those answers okay?
Yes.
Any questions there?
See you next time.
Let's talk about the inequalities then. With the inequalities, we had to have a different strategy. We couldn't just multiply to get rid of the fraction because in those inequalities you have a variable on the bottom, so you don't know if you're multiplying by a positive and a negative. Negatives split the inequality, so we can't get rid of it. Instead, what we did was got 0 on one side and a single fraction on the other. Then we set the top and bottom equal to 0 and either plugged in points or looked at a graph to help us. So here is our first problem. I have to start by getting the 0 on the right. Subtract our 1. Okay, this is like a 1 over 1. What do you have to add or subtract?
Common denominator.
Yes. So we are going to multiply top and bottom by 2x plus 1. So that gives me 2x plus 1 over 2x plus 1. What should I do with my minus?
Run it through.
X and negative 2x gives me a negative x. Positive 2 and negative 1 gives me a positive 1. Okay, I kind of combine those steps. We don't need that. Okay, so then we set the top equal to 0 and the bottom equal to 0. If I add over my x, I get x equals a positive 1. This one, subtract my 1, divided by 2, negative 1/2. Okay, from here we had a couple options. I did ask you to draw this number line. Then we had to do test points. If you either did test points or used the graphing calculator. So I'll remind you both ways. If you did test points, you do smaller than negative 1/2 in between them and bigger than 1. And we're plugging it in right here. So if I put in a negative 1, I get a 1 plus 1, that's positive. Negative 2 plus 1 is negative, so that whole section becomes negative. If I put in a 0, I get 1 over 1, which is positive. If I put in a 2, I get negative 1 over 5, which is negative. Which answers did I want?
Less than 0.
Less than means negative. So equal to means bracket. Can I put a bracket on both of these numbers?
No.
Which one can't have it?
The negative 1/2.
Negative 1/2 because the bottom of the fraction can't equal 0. So it's negative infinity, negative 1/2 with a parenthesis, union, bracket 1 to infinity. Remember, if you liked graphing, you are graphing that same thing I circled, the negative x plus 1 over 2x plus 1. And we see it was below the x-axis, so negative, above, positive, below, negative. So we get the same thing. I want you guys to try the second one. The 0. If we set the top equal to 0, you just get 0. You set the bottom equal to 0, you get 2. Okay, you can either do your test points or the graph. You're plugging in using this. So if I put a negative 1 in, I get a positive over a negative, which is negative. If I put in a 1, positive over negative, which is negative. If I put in 3, positive over positive is positive. If you graphed it, you want to graph the x squared over the x minus 2. So we can see we're negative before 0, after 0 we're still negative, then it becomes positive. So you get the same thing. Which answers did I want, positives or negatives?
Positive.
So I want this piece, so that would be parenthesis 2, comma, infinity. Alright, we're going to do one more of these. Let's look at this problem. Alright, so we start by doing what?
Subtracting the fraction.
I think this is like the very last question on your math Excel. I think we did an example like it Friday, and you had one on the homework like it. What do I need to do now? Common denominator. This first one has an x on the bottom, so we would have to multiply by an x. What would I have to multiply by for this one?
X plus minus 2.
Sorry. Don't do what I just said. I said one thing and started writing a different one, didn't I?
Yeah.
I was gonna kinda skip some stuff. Okay, let's back up a second. This one has x, and we need it to match the second one. So what do I need to multiply it by?
Negative 2.
X minus 2.
You have to do the whole
Sorry.
thing, the x minus 2. This one, what does it need to be multiplied by? Just the x. So we have x minus 2 over, don't multiply those out, just leave it as x times x minus 2 minus x over x times x minus 2. Okay, so positive x and negative x cancel, so I just have negative 2 over x times x minus 2. I've already emailed him.
See, Carla? See it, Carla?
From here, does the top ever equal 0? No. What about the bottom?
0.
0 and
Positive 2.
So we have to check both. So we need smaller than 0, between 0 and 2, and bigger than 2. And you can either plug them in, if you want, you can graph. We're looking right here. If you go to graph this, make sure you throw an extra set of parentheses around the top and the bottom. And so we can see it starts out below, then it's above, and then below again. Negative, positive, negative. Which answers did I want? Negative. Less than 0 is the negative. So that's here and here. So we would write that as negative infinity to 0. Union to infinite.
And if it were an equal to, the 2 would get a bracket, right?
On this one, nothing would get a bracket because both the 2 and the 0 make the bottom 0.
Okay. Yeah.
So if it's an equal to, only the thing that makes the top 0 can get a bracket.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm gonna fail this test.
No, you're not.
That's
All right.
Until Thursday.
Any questions there? Okay. Then that is the end of my review. So there is a handout posted on Classroom. It's 10 questions, but I'm just going to give you 8 of them. I want you to do 4 of each type. So I want you to do 1 through 4 and 6 through 9. Okay.
On Classroom?
Yep.
Sorry, I skipped.
Posted on Classroom. You had the rest of the hour to work on it. Ask for help. I don't mind if you work with one another. Also, that Math Excel is due at the end of the day.